Hello viewers, in this tutorial we'll be looking at how to create an event flyer for a social media post. Let's pull up our Photoshop software. Let's go to File, create a new file. We'll be using the size of a 1080 by 1350. 1080 by 1350. Let's maintain the resolution at 300 and the color mode of RGB. Okay, let's create the first layer as our background. Let's pull up our background image. Nice. So let's stretch it so that it settles on the canvas. Let's see how we can maneuver or play with our background image. I will extend it a bit. Scroll the scroll pad on the scroll on the mouse. Sorry. So we can see enough area of our canvas. Let's zoom out so we can see enough. Yeah, let's settle at this. Let's scroll into it. It's fine. Let's create another layer on top of the background image. Press D to change our foreground. Our foreground to black and our background to white. Press D on your keyboard. Fine. Let's press G for our gradient. Let's press Alt. Press down the Alt key so you can zoom out. You press. Now let's extend our gradient to this. We'll select the faint one, the second preset. Yeah. We say it's foreground to transparent. Yeah, that's what you're using. So now you can stretch it to this angle from the bottom to the top of the canvas. Yeah, so that it gives the down bottom black or a gradient fill. Let's do likewise on top of the image by creating another layer. This time around, I'll press down the Alt key so I can see enough area and zoom out so I can see enough area of our canvas. Now I'll also stretch, still using the gradient tool. We'll stretch it down to this level. I think you can do much better, but okay, it's fine. Now we'll press down the Alt key so that we can zoom in whilst using the scroll on your mouse. Now let's give it's too dark. We can see it's the dark area I've covered much of the top area of our canvas. So let's apply a max on the layer 2. Now we can press our brush tool by pressing B on the keypad. Make sure that we use the custom brushes. So let's change our brush type to round one. I think this one is fine. And make sure that the hardness of the brush is reduced to 0%. Nice. Okay. Now, with the mark selected, let's make sure the max layer is rather selected. Now we can brush on top of this layer of layer 2 so that we can see much of the church interior or the background image. I think it's fine, thereby giving our canvas a feeling of a vignette feeling around this area, as you can see. Let's create another layer. Now we can change the foreground by taking a color from the actual church interior image over here. Let's borrow from something like a feeling of a brown. Yeah, I think this one. Let's lighten it a bit by, or let's lighten it a bit by moving it up here It's fine. So we can also apply a gradient now, but this time round we'll be applying the gradient on top. So we select our gradient tool. Let's zoom out so we can see enough area of our canvas. So it's by holding the shift key down, let's stretch to this level. It's fine. Now we can also apply a, a max on it so that we can reveal most of the church interior. Let's zoom in a bit. It's fine. So select the brush tool and paint over it a bit. Yeah, thereby revealing the upper part of the image or of the church interior. Now let's apply a multiply mode by selecting it. Let's apply a multiply mode here. Cool. Let's move to our default tool by pressing V on a keyboard. Let's now try and apply a pattern fill. So let's choose the pattern fill over here. I'm using Photoshop 2020, CC 2020, but we will not be using any fancy fill. Yes, we'll be limiting ourselves to the custom pattern over here. I'm using this one. It says .1, as you can see here, .1. I'm selecting that one. Now I want to reduce the scale to 75%. 75%. Fine. Now the pattern covers the entire area of the canvas, but we can apply the brush tool so that it reveals most of the church interior. Now select the max on the pattern fill. Select the max on the pattern fill. So we have it selected. And now by pressing the brush tool, make sure that your foreground is set to black and your background white. Our foreground being black, we now paint over or you will now brush over our pattern so that it reveals the church interior, as you can see. So by leaving the sides white, now we've created something of a vignette feeling around the church interior, or the background, if I may say. Let's try and see if we can blend the pattern with the church image by selecting overlay over here. Overlay. So if we zoom, let's go back to our move tool by pressing V on our keyboard or selecting it over here. Now let's zoom in to our image. You can see the pattern filling around here. Fine. Press Ctrl 1, or let's zoom out. It's fine. Let's be saving our work as we carry on move on, so that you don't lose our work. Now let's apply some texture below and above our canvas. Let's go and use this image over here, this texture image over here. Don't worry, I'll be attaching the files I use here to the tutorial so that you can follow along with it. It's fine. I would like to change the color of the texture to something like of a blue. So press Ctrl U on your whilst you have the texture layer selected, press Ctrl U. So let's play around with the hue a bit of a blue. Okay, I will settle with this one, 15. A bit. Yeah. You can duplicate the texture layer by dragging it to this layer next to the bin so that you can have a copy. Let's zoom out. Now let's drag the texture copy up. Press Ctrl T. So now let's try and rotate it a bit to, let's say, 0 degree, as you can see. Now let's stretch the sides. Right click again and flip horizontally. Yeah, it's good this way. Now let's try and apply a solid color. But we'll be borrowing from the color of the church interior, which looks a bit of a brown or big brown. How do you call it here? A brown color. Let's apply our solid color by pressing this button. Solid color. Yeah, so you can use this color. You can settle with this color. You say okay. Now we'll change the color mode. We can change the layer, the solid color mode to, let's try and see. You can be moving along and see what happens. Just be trying to see which one settles fine with this. Okay, now we use that of the color. Let's settle with the color for now. So we've changed the color mode here to color, as you can see. So with none of the layers selected, let's apply a hue and a hue saturation effect to it, because at the end of the day we want to have our hue saturation here. We want to have a blue feeling of a color. Or let's move our hue along to see which one. Okay, we'll settle with this blue. We'll settle with the blue here. Fine. I think we having. Yeah, we'll settle with this color. You can save our work. Now let's group all the layers into one folder and name it as our background. So I'm selecting the last layer here. By pressing on Shift, I'll select the layer, the topmost layer, so that I can select other layers. Press Ctrl G to group them and rename it as background. Let's create another layer here. So now we can create those bars, those sidebars that we saw in the final flyer. So let's create a square. Let's change a blue square. Let's change the color first by double clicking here. The blue color. Let's use this color. The color code is 043958. We'll settle on this one. Let's create the squares. By pressing on U, you can also initiate the square tool. But make sure the fill color is what? Blue, and there are no strokes. Okay, so now let's zoom in. Now we can duplicate the rectangle here by pressing and holding the Alt key. Duplicated. Let's duplicate another one so that we can have three bars. I'll select the middle one then the other bar here. So now let's group them. We can merge all of the bars here by pressing Ctrl E. Ctrl E merges all of them now. So now let's press Ctrl C so we can transform it. Move your mouse to the model point over here, but at the same time pressing and holding the Control key. Yeah, we want to transform it to this shape. Okay, it's fine. So now let's accept the transformation. Okay, now let's duplicate them. We want to create another bar, so let's duplicate this one. You can drag it here. Yeah, there are two ways. You can either drag it down to this icon here, the icon next to the bin icon, so it duplicates it. Or in other ways, you can also use you can press and hold the Alt key whilst dragging it. Okay, so now we can also transform it. Let's by pressing Ctrl T, right click and use select flip horizontal. So we can also move it this way, likewise. So now let's zoom out so that we can see what we're doing so far. Let's move it a bit to the right. Okay, now let's create another layer. This time around, we'll be creating the illumination we seen earlier on the final flyer. So how do we create those illuminations? Now, with our foreground, let's change our background. Let's activate our background by pressing X. Now, currently our background is white. We want to change the color, but for foremost, let's press X on our keypad, on our keyboard. Sorry. So now our foreground is white now, but I want us to change the color using these codes 03 03 03 A 9 E6, not E6. Right, cool. Now let's activate our background color by pressing X again on our keyboard. X. Okay, now let's initiate our brush tool. Remember, we are using those custom brushes. So now let's click on the center of our canvas. But before I do that, I would like to hide our backgrounds for now, also the bars for now. So let's hit on the center of our canvas just once. Let's create another empty layer. This time around, we want to reduce the size of our brush. We can use the right square bracket to reduce the size of our brush. Now, we want to change the color of our brush to the lighter blue. By pressing X, we have the light blue activated. Now, also at the same point, let's double click. Cool. Now, Blender. Now we have this color. Now let's select both. Both layers. I'm speaking of layer 4 and layer 5, and let's merge them by pressing Ctrl E. So we have this. Now we can unhide all the other layers too now. Yeah. Cool. Now I would like us to drag the illumination on layer 5. Let's press Ctrl V so that we can go back to our move tool. Now we can move our layer 5 on top of the bar. Here I'm referring to the left bar here. Cool. Now I want us to change the mode of let's rename the layer 5 to illumination. Let's get into the habit of renaming our layers so that we don't get confused along the way. I'll change this one to, okay, that's the left bars. The other one to, no, that's our right bar. right bars, then the other one being our left bars. So just drag the illumination on top of the left bar. Now let's change the mode to, it does go through and see, just see which effect you finally like. But I'll go with the linear dodge, so that it creates something of a light fill. Okay, now let's duplicate the illumination layer again. This time I'm dragging, I'm pressing and holding the Alt key and dragging to the right side. Okay, but let's make sure that the copy of the illumination is on top of the right bars, like this. Fine, cool. So finally, we are done with creating our background. Thanks for watching. So the other episode will be adding the subject or the artist together with the team, the names, and the final contact details. Thanks for watching.